Hello, Active Sage here on the Sage Channel, and this is my latest mega ship. This is actually the Mega Explorer that I'm simply calling the Planet Jumper, or Planet Hopper. It'll probably be named officially Planet Jumper, but you could call it a hopper, but it sort of defeats the purpose if it's just hopping between planets. This is a ship that's somewhat inspired by Star Trek, and it's intended to just be an exploration ship, meaning it goes from point A to point B and sends out little ships to probe and explore things and check it out. It's designed to have a huge amount of crew space so that the crew can be happy while on board and also perform experiments in the labs on board this ship. You can see by that little tiny black dot over there that was drifting by the engines, that's our character. So this is a pretty hefty ship in size. The way you get into it, and there is actually only one way, we'll go ahead and buzz towards that right here, is all the way at the back of the ship. And you can see it's got its own little docking bay right there at the bottom, as well as a living area where people will be able to dine, eat, hang out, a sort of conference briefing room here, and a captain's quarter, as well as a symmetrical sort of first officer's quarter there, or whoever you would like to assign to that. Let's go ahead and open up these base doors down here and fly into the ship. And a small cut right there, because I actually had to get my character inside the ship ready to push a button, and push button. There you go. I'm sure you've seen a million of these before. Depressurizes the room. I don't actually have the system set up the best to go ahead and actually suck the air out of there and then put it back in. But either way, you can see we can head inside, close those doors behind us with the same button. And this is basically an airlock, so you can bring ships into the ship without having to worry about venting the entire hangar. So this isn't the hangar right here. It's a bit bigger as soon as we open this door in front of us. And we should have these vents up here in front of us. Yeah, slowly pressurizing this room. You see we got a fair few of them, and I really like the way that the oxygen sort of puffs down from all those. And then we can open this up. We might have a bit of a pressurization poof there, but yeah, it looks like we're all right. And this is actually the main hangar here. And you can see our character is actually sitting up in that little control room up there. So this is where everything would be stored. If you had landers, they'd be stored here. If you had dropships to go down to planets, they would be stored up here. Anyway, let's go ahead and hop our character out of that seat, bring them down here, and we can continue the rest of the tour with an actual character instead of just a spectator cam. The whole ship does have a 1x gravity. There shouldn't be any gravity overlap, and you can see lots and lots of lights. That way this room is relatively well lit. No real easy way to light up the center area here, but hopefully it's good enough. We'll head through these tiny little airlocks here, designed to basically keep this little tiny section, well, this little area here should be glitched out, so it's always pressurized or depressurized, depending on which door was used previously. But then you come into sort of a respawn / restock area, so if you need to change your suit or whatever, you could do that through here. Or if you needed to go ahead and repair yourself if you got hurt, or access inventory to get some tools to run back out into the engineering area. And you can see a little glitch here where apparently you can see into the world if you have that block meeting that block. Interesting. Anyway, carrying on our tour, another little door here we got to pop open. Very nice. Into another sort of airlock, and this one actually leads up into the main rest of the ship, up to this stairwell. Oh, why did I suddenly go flying? Apparently I might have forgotten to put a vent in this stairwell, so look out for that, eh? But you can see that that stairwell goes all the way up. We have other doors here that lead us into the engineering area here. And you can see we have tons of gyroscopes, tons of refinery stuck between all these upgrade modules, some storage over here, some sorters. So we actually have everything set up with a very simple sorting system, only allow metal ingots only to a certain point, and I don't know, you can replace all this easily enough and just delist any of the stuff listed for the sorters and tell them not to pool, and just use a TIM sorting system if you want. But if you do not want that, it'll automatically pull ore into a holding area before processing the ore into ingots and having that put out into a specific container. And you can see pipes that lead up and elsewhere. And actually, if we were to go ahead and pop this door open here, head through another little airlock, this leads us out into the main observation area of the ship, where you just have this incredibly huge view, and we'll be getting to these different floors in a moment. I'm going to go back down there. We're going to try to go through this a little bit quickly because it's a massive, massive ship, and it would probably be about 2 hours if I went from room to room. After a point, we're actually going to go to some cutaways. I just wanted to show that it can be a bit of a confusing mess in here. In fact, if we were to fly up here and hang a right and then float down here, you can see there's actually crawl spaces all over a huge amount of the ship. So if we were to go through this door here It actually leads us down to a lower crawl space on the bottom of the ship at the very base. So you can see even though there's stuff crammed in all over, you should still be able to access almost all of it to repair it. If we head all the way down here, by the way, we still do have gravity. It leads us to just a gyroscope storage room, which for some reason had double doors, but either way, you can see it doesn't have its own pressure, but once it is pressurized, it's decent. But you can see tons of gyroscopes and one of our gravity generators to go ahead and maintenance all that. And double doors here so that if that section is depressurized, you have these doors that you can get to it pretty easily. Let's go ahead, head ourselves back up the way we came. You might have seen a pair of stairs leading up the other way. That's just a symmetrical designed section. Now we can close these doors behind us. Not that we really need to, of course. This ship is currently pretty much all pressurized except for a few little areas. But anyway, if we head up through these doors, and once again double doors, just in case the section is depressurized, it won't necessarily depressurize all of the crawl spaces. We can get up to this section, which is a bit confusing. Up here basically just leads down to the other side of the ship, but they're both symmetrical, and from here you can head back to the very back, just so you maintenance all of these pipes here. Another pop up right here, so you'll actually be able to fling up here and maintenance other sides of maybe some of these pipes or something like these here. Lots of just maintenance ducts basically is all this comes up to. And then I think, was there one little path that we had hidden in right here, I believe? No, I thought there was a door there. It must be the other section, because it can get a bit confusing in all of these passageways. You can see there we actually do have vents up here too to ensure these crawl spaces stay ventilated. Yeah, so that's where we just came from, right? That door, correct. Alright, so let's move down this way, and we should be able to run across, yes, this right here, which leads us into one of the nacelles on the side of the ship. Now, this area will probably be depressurized, so we're not going to go ahead and run into there. It's a pretty huge space if we were to pressurize it. So we can pop that door open. You can see this is where we have a bunch of our reactors and a bunch of thrusters actually on the inside. Now, I've spaced these out so they shouldn't be burning everything. I've said in the past that, well, if they had upgrade modules that you could upgrade the power of these, I wouldn't be sticking them all the way in here, but let's be honest, sometimes it looks a bit ugly just to have thrusters everywhere on the outside of your ship, so I have a bunches and bunches of these in here to go ahead and power our ship and get us about. And you can see more and more reactors. Let's head ourselves back into here now, through this outcropping, which I'm actually quite happy with how weird this looks, the way it just sort of crops out of the wall. But anyway, head ourselves back in there, get back out of the nacelle, and get back into the rest of the ship. There we go. And you can see our oxygen is now set back to high. And then we can go ahead and follow these pipes up this way, which leads us all the way up pretty much, again, it's sort of just maintenance tunnel there, but pretty much all the way to the top of the ship, or we have a bunch of what almost looks like buildings, these huge things here, and pipes strung everywhere, but this is sort of our, well, more of our engineering deck at the very top of the ship. This big flat space where I built the interiors and basically decided to use this to store all of our tons and tons of reactors. And behind those reactors, believe it or not, there's tons of storage as well. So this ship has tons of power and tons of storage. And you see the way everything strings about and connects, and there's lots of little spaces and stuff where we could have put more gyroscopes or something down there if we wanted to. It almost looks like a bunch of buildings. These are the tops of a lot of separate rooms and stuff that sort of clumped together. Anyway, we can go ahead now, and I don't think, can we scoot through here? We could scoot through here and just have a bit of an odd sight, I guess. As long as we don't bump into all of them. There we go. Go past all of our reactors, tiny little bumps here and there. There we go. Back here, and now we have to go all the way back down there because there's not actually an access way to get easily from this place back down into the pressurized livable areas of the ship. So I have to go all the way back. And there's the part where it can get a bit confusing because you can miss this door pretty damn easily if you're not cautious. So shut that off, pop this door open. There we go. Make sure you got oxygen tanks and, well, not necessarily oxygen tanks, but hydrogen tanks with you if you decide to go exploring these areas of the ship, because you will need a jetpack to get around. Plop, we're back in engineering. If we wanted, we could actually go ahead and, well, there's no easy way to get to it apparently from right here, but there is a small floor space beneath. There we go. This area here where you can see more storage and all that, and a door down there that connects into, I believe, what do you connect into? Ah, yes, this is just a tiny little maintenance area here with some oxygen generators and stuff. Lots and lots of little doors and stuff leading about. Let's go ahead, get ourselves back up to the livable area now. Enough of this wobbling about in the engineering and crawl space sections of this ship. We'll level ourselves back up and over and back down. Here, you can see all the red lights. There's different color coding for everything. In fact, if we were to look in a control panel like this right here, and we were to search up underscore lights, actually you can probably see almost all of them right there, but you can see we have hangar lights, engineering lights, which are sort of like these areas we're in right now, and all the crawl spaces are counted as engineering, bridge lights, barracks lights, lab lights, all these different sections have all their own separate lights, so you can change the colors on them as well. And the airlock lights are all red, engineering is orange, and then like this area is just a small hallway lighting section. Anyway, we can carry on up these switchback stairwells now to lead us up to the first proper livable floor, which is right here. And we can walk out onto here and you can see a much bigger space, much more pleasant than below. Unfortunately, the lights are clipping through a bit, but this should be mainly bunches and bunches of little living areas where you have a desk and a bed and a small divider. Didn't go all out on modding here. These are my old mods and they honestly don't work the best in the world. In fact, we could go to F7 and F8 and fly ourselves in there. You can see I still haven't fixed the animations yet because it's a bit of a pain in the arse to fix those. But anyway, the point is you do get a nice room with a great view, and a lot of the rooms in the ship do have a view. I tried to give most of them a good view of everything. Close that door. And if we fly down here, once again, that large observation area, and you can look out onto whatever the main ship is just orbiting or checking out at the time. And I believe to the left and right here we do have some sort of briefing or office rooms here. A bit dark, but I really love their ceilings and whatnot. It's just such an odd, I don't know, it's just odd. I love it. I love how it came together. Very interesting. It's probably the only room in the ship that is so very, very odd. We can get out of there. Head down the rest of the ship. You can see we do have a big blast door there. That way, if ever this big window here is shattered, they can seal off this sort of section at the front. Those will just be more bedrooms. It should be at least. Comes to this area, which should have been like another divider, like that one, but I sort of decided to have this smaller axis because it leads to that overlooking window where we can look down into our hangar bay. And we do have an office up to the left and right of each of these things here, where you got like where one of the operators would be sitting right here, you know, commander or something, and then sort of someone else taking notes there or just taking a break. And you can see the ceilings, we have lots of arches and stuff that I tried to stick in there, and you might be noticing vents pretty much everywhere. Tried to keep everything ventilated. Of course, this triple door doesn't really work as 3 different airlocks when they're all connected like that, but whatever. Anyway, let's go back to the stairwell, which I think I might have passed. No, here it is. No, that's not it. I did pass it. It should be right here. I could put signs up, but for the time being, no signs. Apologies. Let's hop in here. Again, it feels like it needs to fully pressurize these stairwells. I guess I forgot a vent in there. Before I put it on the Steam Workshop, I'll toss a vent in for these whole things here, because you will be able to go ahead and download the ship and hang out if you like. And there we go, to this floor. And this is our laboratory floor. You can see these are just sort of observation labs. And you can see the doors connecting to the sides because all these labs are connected to one another. This specific one here, that's a stairwell again. Didn't mean to open that door. This specific one here is a little bit different from the other observation labs. As you'll be able to see, we got, I think, 3 observation labs set up like this. Yep. So you can have whatever laboratory functions you like. And then sort of this one here, which is a semi-storage, semi-laboratory, which is a bit darker. No lighting in there at the time. I could put some in, I'm not sure I will, but it sort of connects into the living area. So I sort of wanted to leave it as, you know, you could just imagine this being either your own sort of personal diner space on the ship, which is more calm and relaxed, more research, or just sort of backroom storage for the main food area, which we'll be getting to in a second. Going through these double doors here into the lab, you can see airlock doors. Labs all have their own vents, and then these connecting doors here just in case you need to bring something from one lab to the other, or you're basically using 2 lab spaces as one. And all the way down here we do have this little room here, which is just another sort of office where you'd put your desks and whatnot, and the higher ups of the lab section would be sitting here and doing their thing, and you get the awesome view from all of these rooms. These, of course, don't have an exterior view because, well, they're not necessarily needed. And each of these rooms also has their own double airlock door that leads out into the main hallway right there. So pretty simple and straightforward, but there's a fair amount of thought that went into it. Another blast door here, that way if they need to sail off this whole section here from the rest of the ship, they can do so. Heading up here, this is the, I think there is, yes, this leads up into, yeah, this is sort of like a bar, sort of right here, where you'd have somebody serving drinks or something, and this leads back into that storage room I was talking about, the lab/storage room right here. If we go down here, actually, this doesn't take us down to a full other floor, this doesn't connect to anywhere else, it leads to another little bar thing here with another storage, and this is sort of the main, big, huge, I don't know, main, what do you call this? Mess hall. the recreation area. This is what this whole area would be used for. I didn't put lights in here, which is a bit of football. I'll fix that before it goes up on the Steam workshop. But you can see good view from the back of the ship, and yeah, a lot of headspace in here. You'd imagine like lots of little dining table, not dining tables, but like little tables for people to sit at, drink, and socialize. Yeah, and here's another one of those bar things that once again it'll loop back around into the lower sections. Don't need to go in there. We can head back out through these doors. You can see lots of looping passageways and different ways to get around to everything. And apparently this little tiny hallway wasn't pressurized. This should have been pressurized because it's got vents below, but that little tiny space, apparently not. Yeah, once again, that leads back into there, and this leads into the overlook, so just tons and tons of ways to go everywhere. Anyway, heading up to the next floor, as long as we didn't miss anything all the way here at the back. You can see the ship is so long, the lights actually, you can't even see them at the far side. That's not sensors that I have set up, that's actually just cuts out after a while. Oh, yeah, this is a main briefing room, so if you want to have a briefing down here, you could, and you get a nice overlook into the front once more. I love the ceilings in here, almost like a cathedral. You could imagine some of these briefing rooms being turned into a sort of religious sermon section. I also have some more bedrooms out here. Once again, you can see same sort of layout, same sort of window set up to give you a nice view. A little bit cramped at times, but not too bad really when you're considering each block in Space Engineers is 2.5 meters, and you get a nice little overlook down here in the hallway leading to all these rooms. Huge amount of space here. I think, is that on this floor or is it the next floor up? It must be the next floor up, so let's hop back into our stairwell. Oh wait, no, it's right here. Our main barracks. So here's our sort of barracks area. So if you don't have a high enough position to actually have your own room, you do have these. It all could also be used if maybe you're picking up refugees or something. Not too many beds, but a fair few. And then they have their own sort of restroom stalls in here. Don't have a model for it or anything, but you know, use your imagination a little bit here. Let's go ahead and head out. You can see this whole thing will be mirrored on the other side because I like symmetry. So there you go, you get the same thing over here with their own restrooms and all of that. Pretty cool. Then let's head back to the stairwell right here and head on up to the next floor, which is a bit of a walk, but not too bad. And this should be, I believe, the top floor. Yep, this is the very top floor. And you can see right away, you got a choice on this floor. This little door here leads us into the sort of sleeping area, the main crew quarters section of the ship, which is down this hallway, where you can see behind each of these doors we have the same thing we've had before, but except for this time, it's a pretty damn long hallway. To the right, you have sort of middle class, so this would be up, middle, and then lower, if you were to put it into almost an airplane sort of setup, where these are just a bed, no desk, but at least you're not in the barracks. You get your own little sort of personal space. Not too much. And I guess technically not a restroom. I didn't think of restrooms thoroughly on all of this, but let's just imagine there's like a little toilet fold out in all of these rooms, eh? Heading over here, we head back to this door. It's the same place that the stairwell door would have led to, and it's our main hallway on the top floor. Pretty nice long stretch of it. If we head towards the back of it, you get some briefing rooms here, which could also be converted to labs or whatever you please, but a nice big space here, mirrored on the other side. And we actually have two of these. I really love these because it almost feels like a conference hall or something with the big double doors. You can imagine a lot of people coming in and sitting in, almost like a lecture hall or something like that. And I'm very happy with my ceilings on a lot of this, with the vents and everything, the way it all turned out. Very happy with that. If we head back here, here's the very back of the ship where you've actually seen a little of this already, with the captain's quarters sort of set up here. Very, very dark, just a bit of light here and there. I could have sworn I put more lights in here. They just, either I didn't save that, or I'm misremembering. But either way, you can see fair amount of room for the captain, and then his own very personal little room here, so he doesn't necessarily have to sleep right next to the windows if you want some privacy from the world or something like that. You'd have your, you know, lounging tables and whatnot for a captain, very posh son of a gun. At the other side is just a mirroring of that, but then we do also have this sort of hall here, which I pointed out from the outside, which could be another quarters if you really wanted to jury-rig it, or, once again, briefing, lecture, whatever you please. Lots of excess space. Heading all the way down here, and I am turning on my jetpack to go a little bit quicker. You can see there's a large stretch here with no doors or anything. That's all those, like, middle class, as I was calling them, sleeping quarters with just the bed in them. Either way, we get over to here, and I think, is this it as well? Nope, this leads into that middle class and main sleeping hallway again. But if we go through here, this will lead us into the medical area, and this is sort of the main medical area of the ship, where you have your med bay here. And if we go through this door, the idea is these are where patients would be kept if they're not feeling too well, and they even get a nice view out into the stars, which I think is pretty nifty. Heading back this way and doubling through this door, you will of course find once again a mirrored version of the medical bay over there, so double medical bay, and a lot of these have these double doors to make sure even if this main hallway is depressurized, it shouldn't depressurize the entire ship. Through this blast door here, we have the bridge, which is pretty dang scant. But you can see the idea is you'd have tons of control panels sitting here with people sitting at them. I didn't necessarily feel like choosing a mod for it, so I just left it blank, or building my own mod, which is something I really like to do. But so I left all this stuff empty. You can imagine the officers that are always staring at a computer screen sitting down here working away, while slightly higher up folk might be up here, similar to a Star Destroyer in that design, but also similar to maybe something you'd see in Alien with the lowered ceilings around this area there. I did go ahead and stick in a few computers here if people want to go ahead and use the timer blocks and set up some computer stuff slightly hidden behind these little arched in things. And then our main pilot seat right here at the front, just stuck out here so you get an incredible field of view while sitting in it. So we can hop in that and you see I can look pretty much everywhere. As for how this ship actually handles, let's turn our UI so you can actually see everything now. It's 59 million kilograms in mass, and its acceleration isn't too bad. I guess maybe we have to do a info convert. No, it's already in the ship. What's going on here? Pressure dampers on and off. There we go. Everything woke up there. And you can see if we do forward, everything accelerates at a decent speed. Not the fastest in the world, but it's pretty good. And in fact, I have a sneaking suspicion right now that our sim speed might be a little bit slow. Yeah, we're at 50% sim speed, so it'd actually be accelerating twice as fast as it is now. The acceleration works pretty well, and we all around have pretty decent maneuverability. You also saw the jump drives in there, so you know this ship has jump drive capabilities. In fact, it's got, like almost 100 jump drives stuck in there. So the ship has great ability to jump from planet to planet, exploring, sending crews down, and of course, giving everyone on board a decent area to live. It's a relatively streamlined ship, far more streamlined than most things I built, but I wanted to build something sort of inspired by Star Trek, while also being, well, pretty dang geometric, because I quite like geometric shapes from time to time. And you can see rotation speed, the thing does rotate pretty well. Now, to give you guys a quicker look at everything I've just talked over, I'm going to hop out of this. We're going to hop into Spectator, and we're actually going to go ahead and fly to all these signals you will see way over here, and I'll give you a better idea of how this ship is laid out if you didn't quite get it all, and give you some other stuff. So here's the ship standard. Here it is cut away, so you can see how it is all laid out. Lots of just long main corridors down the middle with things to divide them up and seal them off if things go wrong. Our whole crawl space at the top we had walked and flown through. Our bridge, one of our main halls, and then our whole engineering section there, as well as a bunch of other little rooms and stuff like that. As well as I believe this is, yeah, one of those areas we would have flown down and into. Our main airlock for our hangar, as well as our just main hangar. Pretty cool stuff, I think. And then I have some vertical, well, horizontal cutaways too, of starting from the top with all those reactors and storage that I told you were there that you could barely see. Tons of storage, lots of gyroscopes scattered about, lots of, all kinds of stuff really. Our antenna's even up here, I didn't even mention that. Next floor down is with all those bedrooms I was talking about. Ta-da, tons and tons of that, as well as our medical stuff on the far left and the bridge, as well as all those briefing rooms and stuff. And these huge sort of oddly shaped things here are that passageway we flew through going up and down the ship when we were in the crawl spaces, so that's where those cables and stuff run. And then we can continue on to the captain's quarters and whatnot here at the very back right. Moving on from there, you got your recreational area on the right, all of that sort of, storage room or whatever you want to use these for, and followed by, of course, the main labs here, our stairwell, then the barracks, as well as some more rooms sort of stuck in here. Maybe the idea is the higher crew that work in the labs would be here, whereas the lower crew that work in the labs and do a lot of exploration missions would be in the barracks. Down from this level, we come to this section here where I actually included the nacelles since we started cutting into them notably, where you got a nice little clump of reactors. You can see the thrusters are spaced out so they have enough room there to give it some push. And you can see the main thing on this floor is a few rooms here for higher ranking engineering staff and whatnot. two sort of briefing rooms here, so if the engineering staff need to do some briefing, and then as we continue over this way, the main hangar and then a little tiny bit of the airlock can actually be seen right here. And something that you can see also is the passageway here that's leading from the main ship into the nacelle, as well as this right here, which actually shows that all that stuff in the nacelle is piped up, even though you can't really see it too well. Moving on from there, next level down, it just simply shows you the cutaways here of all of these sections. Sort of gets a bit hard to follow. And then you can see just how many oxygen tanks we do have at the very bottom of the ship. A whole bunch of them. I believe these are 2 stacked highs. Indeed, it looks like they are. Yep. So yeah, huge amount of stuff, lots of oxygen in the store, not much hydrogen, unfortunately, but yeah, oodles and oodles of stuff, quite a few floors, and this is just so what it looks like when it's cut away, and you can actually see down into the hangar, which I thought was pretty cool, and into the nacelles themselves. That was a pretty cool sight to see, actually. Pretty cool. Same with this here, actually. Almost looks like a boat. Anyway, guys and gals, this is my Planet Jumper mega ship. Took quite a bit of time. I started it last year, actually, but then I spent probably about, I don't know, quite a few hours this month finishing it up and getting it all up to speed the best I could. Originally, when I was working on it, I was doing a lot of setting up air vents to automatically seal off sections when they were depressurized, but I decided to leave that maybe to somebody who wants to either spend a million hours doing that, or maybe somebody who can find a script that more automatically set it up. Anyway, guys and gals, if you want to go ahead and check this ship out yourself, it'll be up on the Steam Workshop for you, so there should be a link to that in the description down below. It should be survival ready, should have enough power, it's going to take it oodles of uranium, but I think it's a pretty cool ship. Anyway, that is that. Thank you a bunch for watching. If you like this ship, considering upvoting it on the Steam Workshop, as well as, of course, upvoting this video, possibly giving me a subscription, a follow, whatever you want to call it, and that is that. Thank you a bunch for watching, and I shall see you all next time. Ta-ta.